What's up, everybody? I'm Apollo. This is Late Great Game Reviews, and this week I'm reviewing F.E.A.R 3. It's developed by Day One Studios. They ported the original F.E.A.R onto Xbox 360 and PS3. The main characters of this F.E.A.R are Fettel and Point Man, the villain from the first one and the protagonist from the first one. There's not a lot of personality with. There's no personality with Point Man. He literally doesn't say anything, and I think at this point in 2014, with games as amazing as The Last of Us, BioShock Infinite, Uncharted, and I know those are like the best games out there, and at least to me, and they really set the bar extremely high. But I think at this point in gaming, we should really not have. There really should not be any just blank protagonists that don't say anything, that are just basically just they're just palettes, they're just silhouettes of characters that you just walk through and they have no say on anything. That's just a little pet peeve of mine. But moving on, Fettel is he basically talks for both of them, and they're brothers, by the way. For anyone who doesn't know that, hasn't played the F.E.A.R series. Honestly, I've never been a huge fan of this series. I played the first two and I played this one all the way through, but I don't know. This series itself has always been just kind of meh. It's not anything that I'm really excited about or anything. But they're 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 you know they're mediocre games. But all right, F.E.A.R 3 is yeah, it has its good points and its bad points. The cover system is redundant. Honestly, you can just crouch behind things. I really didn't use the cover system too often because it really felt wobbly going around corners. Your gun would kind of sway, and I don't know. It just felt strange. The combat, aside from that though, the combat mechanics themselves feel pretty good. Actually, really good. It's definitely run and gun. To an extent. I mean, a lot of it's really just run and gun. You don't really use a lot of tactics or anything. Um, Especially as Point Man, you kind of have more freedom as Fettel because, well, first of all, you start as Point Man, and as you go through the game, each level you unlock Fettel to play through those levels again. So that adds some incentive to play through the game again. And honestly, playing as Fettel is pretty fun. Whereas Point Man is just the standard shooter character where he picks up guns. You fire guns, you melee with your knife, you throw grenades of all sorts, whether they're electrical grenades that disrupt mechs and things like that, or whether they're regular grenades or like tear gas. That's standard stuff. But with Fettel, he's basically a specter hanging on to Point Man, uh, presumably just because they're brothers, and they're trying to get back to Alma. Blah blah blah. The story is crap. Honestly, it is garbage. As is unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it's not really that surprising, just because the other two games, their stories were pretty weak too. But yeah, whereas Point Man's pretty standard, Fettel actually he has psychic abilities, so he can like telekinetically throw objects, like throw explosives. Unfortunately, not grenades for some reason, but or people, but he can like telekinetically suspend people in the air, and you can psychically blast either that person you're suspending or other people. So you can suspend one person and shoot other people with your psychic blasts. The psychic blasts don't ever run out. There's no meter for them, so that's kind of nice. But again, it's not. It doesn't make it like overly. It doesn't. You don't feel overpowered at all. But it feels pretty good, and it's a different way to play. And I prefer Fettel to Point Man in terms of which one to play as. Also with Fettel, you can use the Psychic Blast to destroy locks and things like that. You can also possess people, which is pretty cool. You can possess people, and then if you get killed while you're still in the body of the person, you just go back to Fettel's normal state. So you can actually technically like just keep going into bodies, put out some damage on some of the enemies, die, and then or have that person's body be destroyed or whatever, and Fettel will be fine, which is pretty cool. That's an interesting mechanic, interesting decision. I actually really like that. It made it fun. It made it a lot more fun to play as Fettel as than it did as Point Man. Yeah, I mean, the yeah. So I mean, so there's that. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to play the co-op and the multiplayer because I'm playing in 2014. The game came out in the summer of 2011. Um, so I'm pretty sure the servers are down because I couldn't find any co-op games and or multiplayer matches, like none in the whole world. So I'm pretty sure the servers are down. Not really surprising, but yeah, that's another thing that they introduced in this F.E.A.R is that is co-op. You can play. You can if you're playing solo, like I said, you can play either Point Man or Fettel yourself. But if you're co-op, there's either split screen co-op or there's online co-op, and you can have two players. One is Fettel, one is Point Man, and I really wanted to play that honestly because wasn't crazy about the story of this game, how it went. Kind of drags on, but I think it would have been a lot more fun with another person. And because I didn't get a chance to play that or the multiplayer, I don't really feel like this review is complete. But I did want to just finish the game, and I wrote down a lot of notes. So yeah. So just basic so essentially this review is just on the campaign and on the playing as the two characters. Not the co-op or the multiplayer. Check out other reviews for that. I apologize for this review not being complete. I didn't know the servers were down for the multiplayer or the co-op before I started. Sorry. Allergies. But bear with me. I always have a lot of notes every single time. Okay, so that's most of the good stuff. Some of the bad stuff is just the game, like, it starts off pretty fun. Like I said, just run and gun, combat feels smooth. It starts off pretty fun, but after there's 8 intervals or chapters in the game, and after the first 3 chapters aren't bad, but after that everything starts to get really old. Everything gets really monotonous in terms of basically this is the formula. You go into a room or an area, you clear out enemies, whether they're like Alma's undead and evil enemies, whatever you want to call them. They don't really have names. Or you clear out the Armacan soldiers, and basically you go into a room and area and you clear them out, and then another wave comes in, you clear that wave out, and another one comes in. And sometimes you're just, in fact, it's more than sometimes. Most of the time, I'd say 85% of the game, you are bombarded by this just endless, near endless onslaught of enemies just from every direction. You're either being attacked by monsters from every direction or being just like bombarded by gunfire from every direction. It really is like, it's overwhelming, but it's just more irritating than anything else because there's so many parts where it's just like, this is not fun at all. I don't know who they tested for and they thought it and said it was fun, but it's really not. It just got really irritating. If they had to just cut the enemy load in half for the entire game, the game would have been at the perfect level of being challenging without being frustrating. But for some reason they decided to just throw all these enemies at the player and expect them to have fun. But it's really not. And that continues throughout the game. Mechs are back, as in the first 2 games. There's not a whole lot. They're fun, and it's just a solid experience. It's still pretty fun to play as a mech, but there's not a whole lot of new stuff there. There's like a couple. There may have been 3, but I only remember two different types of mechs. One is the standard, just uh, guns and rockets mech. The mech that comes equipped with guns and rockets. And then the other one is like one that comes equipped with guns and like a death ray, basically, that just like instantly, like, or near instantly, basically just incinerates enemies, which is pretty cool. The mech battles can be a little frustrating, at least like two or three of them, because if you're in a mech and you suddenly get, like, I remember there's this instance where you're on a bridge. It's one of the levels. I'm not gonna say any more than that. But you're on a bridge and you're fighting two mechs, and you have to constantly, like, you put up the shields on the mech, and you have to get out before the mech explodes to maintain the mech. So, and then you basically try to go into cover, wait until the mech has basically regenerated its health, and then you can get back in. You kind of have to keep repeating that to survive. That gets a little tedious too. Not a big deal. And if you just use a combination of shielding at the right time with your guns and your rockets, and just kind of use those, you kind of just feel your way through it, you'll be fine. And it shouldn't take too long, but it was a bit frustrating. And I think that's the biggest problem I have with this game, because it's just the combat. Like I said, the mechanics are solid, but the way they presented it, with just way too many enemies that just keep coming and coming and coming, and just it doesn't stop. And you kind of, and it's not like it's, I don't know. It just was really irritating to me, and it really made the game drag on, because that was just the setup. Like I said, there's not much of a story, so you're just going through these levels and doing the same exact thing. And sometimes it's just you clear out you wave after wave of enemy in one room, and literally you walk through the door and you just do it all over again, and you walk through another door and you do it again, and there's so many sections where you just do it again and again. You spend hours in this same just frustrating combat scenarios. One of the mechanics that I don't remember. It's been, forgive me, but it's been a few years since I played F.E.A.R 2. I don't remember if slow-mo was in the other two F.E.A.Rs, or if it was in F.E.A.R 2. But if it wasn't, I honestly don't remember. I play a lot of games, but slow-mo is basically you press triangle and it instantly it slows down time to simulate Point Man's enhanced reflexes, and it's bullet time is what it is. Pretty cool. It's helpful. They have a new challenge system in this one that I'm quite sure was not in the other two, where basically you get points. You level up in this. There's like that RPG element of you leveling up in this. With every level up, you get something new, like you regenerate health faster, or your slow-mo meter is increased, or you can sprint faster, or those sort of things. And the challenges are standard. They're like, if you get 50 headshots in a level, or if you get a certain number of kills in a row without dying, or those sort of things. They're standard, but it's a nice. It actually works well with the game. The collectibles are just Alma doll. You find Alma dolls in the levels, and there's also psychic links that you can you'll see like smoldering corpses, and you can hold square. I'm playing this on the PS3, so you hold square, and then you establish the links, and it doesn't really do anything. It gives you points, but I don't know. It felt a little tacked on, but that's just me. I believe that's all I'm gonna say about F.E.A.R 3. Like I said, solid mechanics. That's kind of all it has going for it, honestly. The characters, like Point Man, has no personality. Fettel is His dialogue is terribly written, and yeah, I mean, Vettel's dialogue is not well written, and I don't know. Yeah, that's it. And like I said, the story is really not well done. It's not surprising, but it is unfortunate. But yeah, that's Fear 3. I'm gonna give it 6.5 out of 10. Um, if you've played the rest of the Fear series, you can give it a shot. Um, it does, unfortunately, like I said, the multiplayer and the co-op is, at least the online co-op. You can still play split screen, but the online functionalities are down because the servers are down, or the servers have been taken offline, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's Fear 3. This has been Lake Rate Game Reviews. I will see you guys and girls next week.